Kitab-uz-Zuhd. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah, is a very famous muhaddith. He has his Kitab-uz-Zuhd. Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, a very famous muhaddith and a scholar. He has his own Kitab-uz-Zuhd. And here we do the Sunan of Imam Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, and we're doing the chapter of Kitab-uz-Zuhd. What is Zuhd? And why is it so important? In my understanding, this is very, very crucially important for us to study these ahadith. Because Zuhd basically means to turn away from the worldly luxuries. Right? Al-Zahadatu means that we cut our desires short. We refrain. Zuhd, to refrain. Refrain from what? To refrain from these excess desires. Kitab al-Raqa'iq. What is Raqa'iq? Comes from riqqa. So riqqa means something very soft. So these are those ahadith that begin to soften the heart. Right? If the community is anything like me, this age that we're living in, this country that we're living in, the effect of this is that our hearts get very hard. Truth be told, we're Muslim, alhamdulillah. We come pray Salatul Jumu'ah, alhamdulillah. We pray our 5 times a day, alhamdulillah. We fast, alhamdulillah. But I still feel like there's a rock. I feel there's a rock. I don't feel the spirituality. I don't feel that I'm getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when I pray my salah, it's motions. It's like a robot. I don't feel that pious. When I hear the life of the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, and I look at their lifestyle and what they sacrificed, how they would recite Quran the entire night, crying and weeping before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I look at my life and I see a difference. So the thing that helped me quite a bit, and is still helping quite a bit, is to come back. Number one, read Quran with understanding. That's one. Coupled with that, there's many, many more ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which will then start to soften the heart. It's like droplets of water. When it comes and it drips on a rock, it eats away at it slowly, slowly. For sure. After some time, you see that the little droplets of water will break through and crack that rock. So for us also, in this day and age, this is that zamana, this is that time, this is that era where we're bombarded, right, with the nafs, with luxuries, with things that we don't need, but we feel we need to have in order to find happiness. We have phones. Alhamdulillah, I have a phone. Everybody has a phone. But as soon as the next phone is out, I don't feel happy unless I have it. I have a perfectly very good working phone, iPhone 4. Then I need iPhone 5. Then I need iPhone 6. And if I don't have it, I don't feel that I have happiness and contentment in my life. I have a perfectly good functioning car. It gets me from point A, it takes me to point B, nothing wrong with it. But when I look at my neighbor's house, I see he has a new car. Then I'm not happy. I'm not content. Why? I don't have his car. He must be happier than I am. Right? And this, when you go shopping, when you go to the mall, it's a science. They've employed the biggest psychologists of the field to see what makes us want to buy. And they've put this disease in our mind that unless you don't buy, you're not going to be happy. So for us, it's affecting us. For our ladies, it's affecting us. This children is being affected by this. The whole society, it's become consumerism. I need to buy, I need to be happy. If I don't have it, I'm not happy. I become depressed. Have we ever thought about this? We're living in the United States of America, the very first class country of the entire world. Everything is available, but yet the depression rate, depression in this country, they're taking medication upon medication to treat depression. And you go to our back home countries, where poverty is more frequent, people have less money, 20 family members in one house. Where's the depression? There's no depression there. Alhamdulillah, no problem. You know, a family member passes away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They get by. You haven't lost a child, you haven't lost a family member, you have no sickness, there's not losing a job, and you're just depressed. Why are you depressed? What is going on? It's because this mentality that's come upon us, and we the Muslims were following after that. Right? So Kitab-uz-Zuhd is a very big necessity for us. This is very spiritually based ahadith. Ahadith based upon our spirituality. What we need is to feel again like a Muslim. Right? We're not going to talk about fiqh. We're not going to talk about rulings. We're not going to talk about wudu. We're not going to talk about salah. We're going to talk about the spiritual points. That how I can kind of bring life to this dead heart again. How I can break through. Right? Some narrations, they mention that when we commit sin, on the heart there's a covering. Black dot comes on there. Rust comes on the heart. And if a person doesn't make tawbah, doesn't make istighfar, and then it stays over there, the person commits another sin, until the heart becomes really like encrusted. There's a layer. If nur wants to penetrate, the light of Allah wants to penetrate through that heart, but because we have so much sin, it doesn't have any effect. You can give the best talk, the most beautiful ayat, the most striking hadith, and the person is like, so what? So what? That means that the heart is dying if it's not already dead. For the rest of us, before it gets there, we need to say that, okay, there's a glimmer of hope. Subhanallah, let me just kind of break off some of the crust on my heart. And the Mubarak, blessed month of Ramadan is around the corner, exactly 1 month away, inshallah. Right? This is that time, this is the beginning, the commencement. This Ramadan, I'm going to resuscitate my heart. I'm going to bring my spiritual life back to life. And the way to start doing that is to start with these ahadith. And this particular silsila, alhamdulillah, we've started it. It's been over a year now in Ashburn, the Adam Center in Ashburn, Virginia. There's a group of youth that come, they spend the entire night in the masjid. They wake up for tahajjud, they have halaqah. Okay? It reminds me of Ashab al-Kahf. There's youth, youngsters, 20, 25, 18, 14. They come together and they said that we want to learn something. I said, what better than Kitab-uz-Zuhd? In Hagerstown also, it was, MashaAllah, very good. A lot of the youth and so forth enjoyed it. So we tried it in the Hagerstown Masjid in Maryland. And over there, it's like a very posh neighborhood. Most of them are doctors. They're making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So I said, who more needs this also than these people? They need it because it's all about the dunya. And they have everything. They have everything. Just to give you one example, right? Normally I'm not going to expose things, but one particular family member that's there, very well off, very rich, and they have everything. Muslim. He put his young son to med school. He's going to become a doctor. Before he could finish, he commits suicide. Commits suicide. The same depression that I'm talking about. You have everything the dunya has to offer. Big house, fancy car, lot of money, everything is going well, good clothing. But if this is not fixed, and we have everything of this dunya, then we just can't make sense out of this thing. So wallahu a'lam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. But this is the reality of the things, right? So we're going to start, inshallah, the very first of the ahadith of Kitab-uz-Zuhd. And Allah give tawfiq. However far we get, inshallah. And this hopefully becomes a silsila continuation. So Imam al-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah, starts off Kitab-uz-Zuhd an Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he brings a sanad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حدثنا صالح بن عبد الله وسويد بن نصر قال صالح حدثنا وقال سويد أخبرنا عبد الله بن المبارك عن عبد الله بن سعيد بن أبي هند عن أبيه عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. In this particular hadith, which I mentioned with the sanad, the chain of transmission. It's very important that we start to understand these things, that we come back to relearn our deen, we relearn our religion. The deen of Islam has taught us that we substantiate everything. The only religion that has sanad, the sanad is a chain of people who mention it. Where did you get this from? From where? What's your dalil? And we base it on all the people that are in that chain of transmission. The deen of Islam is the only religion that has sanad. If we lose sanad, if we lose a chain of transmission, if we allow anyone to say anything and then claim that to be the deen of Islam, then the deen of Islam will be ruined, it'll be finished. Everything has to be substantiated, going back to the Quran, going back to the Sunnah of Rasulullah through a chain of transmission. We can have opinions, we can have thought, those are fine. But this should be based upon something within the actual foundation of this deen. Because even nowadays, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to talking about tazkiyat al-nafs, there's very many different people that say very different things. And a person will be like dumbfounded, that where did you get this? On the way over here, I was talking to some of the friends of mine that some people have gone overboard in the spirituality, right? They are not even doing the fundamentals of this deen. They're not praying their 5 times salah, and yet they think that they're spiritual people. And they have shuru, and they listen to them, right? So the foundation of the deen is first and foremost. And here, when we come to the source of the foundation of the spirituality, is none other than our beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in this particular hadith, on the authority of Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he mentions that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathirun min al-nas." There's 2 ni'mah, there's 2 bounties, there's 2 blessings. Maghbunun fihima. In order to understand the crux of this hadith, we need to know this word, maghbun. What is this? In English, I can translate to you as to be deceived. There's 2 bounties of Allah. Kathirun min al-nas, the majority of the people are deceived about. But this would not do justice to the hadith, because there's more to this word maghbun than just to translate it as deceived. And those people who like to only read translations, you're not getting the majority of it. The book really is not going to replace a real scholar, a real alim, a real imam, a real human being that you can learn from. In this day and age, forget the scholar, forget the imam, forget even the books. Where do we turn to? It's just straight to Google. And we don't even know what we're getting out of there. Many a times, what we even find there, those so-called Islamic websites are not even run by Muslims. Like how we have, the President Donald Trump, he's made it very famous. Fake news. Fake news. You have on the internet news, and it's fake by design. So what do we think we have over there? You're going to find real Islam? You're going to find fake Islam, because there's people out there creating websites to put out fake information about the deen of Islam so that people are misled and misguided. This is the era that we live in. So the only way that we're going to make sure that we're safe and secure and sound, little ones that I see, these beautiful little children, who's going to safeguard their iman? Who's going to protect their Islam? We're going to leave them to Sheikh Ghul? Not going to happen. We need to make sure then that we have some proper scholars, ulama, imams now, MashaAllah, that Imam, please teach my son. I cannot do it, I don't have that much knowledge, I'm bringing him to you, it's an amana. Right? So this is the importance of these things. So here Rasulullah mentions there's 2 ni'mah, maghbun. What is maghbun? Comes from the huruf asli, ghain, ba, nun, ghaban. And where do you normally find this word? In the Arabic language, in the Arabic context, normally use the word ghaban, like ghaban al-fahish. The fuqaha, they talk about ghaban al-fahish. Where? In Kitab-uz-Zuhd, the chapter of buying and selling, trade and commerce. Normally ghaban is this. The better word to use is, man, you got ripped off. Ghaban, you got ripped off. Imagine we buy something from Craigslist. You bought a car. and then you paid $10,000 for that car. And you bring it home, you bring it to your mechanic, like, what? You paid $10,000 for that car? It's only worth $3,000. So you're like, oh man, right? You misunderstood the value of it. You overpaid for something. That's khabar. That's being deceived. You misunderstood it. It can go the other way too. You might have something very valuable. You know these coins that we have? Some of them have value. Some of these pennies, 1 cent. But if you have like a 1943 hay penny, it's a specific penny with a mistake, that thing could be worth $43,000. I know because I was checking it the other day. One single penny, because of a specific thing, it's got value of $43,000. So imagine if you go through your pocket and you have that penny, and then you give it away to some cashier or you give it somewhere, and the guy looks at it, and he's like, hey, it's the 1943 hay penny with the mistake. And you gave it to it as 1 cent. And he takes it, and he turns around and he sells that thing for $43,000. You feel like, what? I got ripped off. I got ripped off. Ghabn. You see, you get deceived. And for us, there's two ni'mah, two bounties of Allah. We got ripped off. By who? By shaitan, by the nafs. It's a bounty, it's a ni'mah. It's like that penny. It's so much value, so much value. But when we look at it, they're just giving it away. Giving it away. Like little pennies. We toss it over there too. Right? This is not something that we should do. When it's a bounty, it's a ni'mah, we see it as a bounty, we see it as a ni'mah, so we can make the most out of it. And what are these two bounties? As-sihhatu wal-faragh. Sihha, good health. Alhamdulillah, most of us here are in good health. I see brother has crutches, may Allah grant him shifa. Right? Some places you go, there's a brother with the oxygen mask. You know, he has no oxygen in those things. The only real true people who cherish siha are those people who are undergoing some difficulty. The shuyukh and the mashayikh, they beautifully mention this siha, this good health. What is it? They say it's a crown. You know the king? He has a taj. He has a crown on his head. But they say this is an invisible crown. Nobody can see this crown except the only people who can see it are the people who are sick. Go visit the hospital. Go visit somebody, a Muslim brother. Go there so you can see what's going on over there. And a person then comes to a senses and says, SubhanAllah, you see how our brother's just in the bed? He can't even use the bathroom by himself. They bring those little pans. Sometimes they insert different things in different places. And then you really feel there's a tubes going in your arm, and he's like lying there half dead. He can see the crown. He can see you going where you want, eating what you want, doing what you want, wearing what you want. Have you ever put on that hospital robe? They make you take off your underwear and everything. It's just that little robe. They take everything of yours. And then you're like, this is life, this is not life. I'm sick. And then he sees and hears the people outside. He can see through the window. People are driving to work, coming home from work. Families, wives and husbands, children giggling and laughing. And he's here in the hospital bed. Now what we need to do, we need to take lesson from that. Before Allah puts me in that situation, I better make sure I make the most out of life. Because any single one of us can get there. Any single one of us in a blink of an eye like this, subhanAllah, a person, anything can happen. Just last week, 24-year-old scholar, Hafiz of the Holy Quran, he winds up having some pain in his head, 24 years old. He starts getting a headache. I have a little bit of a headache. I don't know what's going on. Goes to the hospital, goes to the doctor. They say it's a brain tumor. Then they admit him into the bed, and then they transfer him from one bed to another bed. In the middle of this course, he has a heart attack, and then a day or two later, he dies. 24. So there's no guarantee in life. The biggest trick that shaitan plays on us is we think that we have a continuous, long, eternal life. Nothing is going to happen to me. And this is that ghabn that we're talking about. We're being played. You got played, you got fooled, and the biggest deceiver, the biggest player is who? Shaitan. We're being played, we're being ridden like an animal. He's taking us where we want to go. Hey, you're strong, you're mighty, nothing's going to happen to you. Keep on doing your thing. As if nothing's going to happen. Enticing us. Like, they have the carrot in front of the mule. It keeps on going after the carrot. It keeps on going after the carrot. It keeps on going after the carrot. The carrot never comes. Or like a mirage in the desert. You think it's water. And you keep moving. You think it's water. You keep moving, getting closer. The water never comes. And this dunya, this world that we live in, the enchantment of this dunya is that it keeps luring you, it keeps calling you, it keeps calling you, it keeps calling you, and we keep coming. We keep going after it. And it doesn't stop until it squeezes us of our siha. It squeezes us of our youth. It squeezes us of our free time. And when we're old, when we're sick, we have diabetes, we have cholesterol, we have all of these things. Now we want to become pious and we can't even worship Allah. When we wanted to go for Hajj as a youth, we didn't go for Hajj. Now when we're 60 years old, 70 years old, we want to go for Hajj now. And I need to be pushed on a wheelchair. Right? So this is a ghabn. We got played by shaitan. We got deceived by shaitan. So the first thing is siha, good health. The second thing is faragh, free time. We have so much free time. We have so much free time, we don't even know it. But we waste it on our phones, watching useless YouTube videos, watching some political news from some back home country. What is the news of back home got to do with me? I'm in America now. Who's the leader of Pakistan? Who's doing this over there? What does that have to do with me? And religiously, I'm watching there for hours on end. And they're discussing who's going to be in power, who's not going to be in power. The youngsters are playing their video games again and again and again and again for hours on end. The mom is checking out, I don't know what she's checking out, some cooking shows, some things, which are all fine, no problem. Halal, mubah, no problem. But the whole time, I can spend 2 hours on my phone. I cannot spend 20 minutes with Quran. I can't spend 20 minutes with Quran, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Too busy with what? On the phone? With YouTube? With Google? I don't call that busy. So shaitan is deceiving us. He's stealing away our free time. He's making us think we're busy. I know. I've spoken to the doctors. I've spoken to lawyers. I've spoken to other people. Nobody is that busy. Nobody is that busy the way they make themselves seem busy. Oh, hold my calls, I'm busy. And they're behind the office watching over there what's going on in Pakistan and politics. Hold all my calls, I'm busy. You're not busy. Shaitan is deceiving us into thinking it's busy. So we have to take care of these an'am and these blessings, right? If we take the benefit out of it, Allah will increase us therein, right? This is a ni'mah. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. You make shukr of this ni'mah, I'll increase you in that ni'mah. Alhamdulillah, have free time. There are some people out there, they find free time. Let me read some more Quran. It's Ramadan. In Ramadan, you find this happen. I have a 20-minute break. I'm fasting anyway. I won't take my lunch. Let me see if I can read a juz. I've made a pact with myself. This Quran, this Ramadan, I'm going to make 10 khatam. I'm going to recite Quran 10 times. In order for us to make 10 khatams of Quran, that means we need to recite 10 juz a day. And it's doable. It's not, oh, how's it doable? It's doable. I can wake up. Approximately an average read of Quran can make khatm of Quran in 20 minutes. And you don't have to be fast. So 1 hour we spend before Fajr, after Sahri, you get three juz down. After that you get some rest, no problem. When you're off at work, you have about half an hour break, another juz and a half there. You come home after Salat al-Asr, you can get maybe another 2-3 juz done. And then at nighttime before going to sleep, 10 juz a day. 10 khatams of Quran in the Mubarak blessed month of Ramadan. We have the time. It's a matter of looking for it, finding it, cherishing it, valuing it. If we know the value, like that penny I'm talking about, if you know the value, subhanAllah, we're going to do it. If I don't know the value, so what? What am I going to do with this 10 khatams of Quran? YouTube, I know the value, subhanAllah. Right? So this is hadith number 1. Hadith number 2. وبه قال حدثنا بشر بن هلال الصواف قال حدثنا جعفر بن سليمان عن أبي طارق عن الحسن عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من يأخذ عني هؤلاء الكلمات فيأمل بهن أو يعلم ما يأمل بهن. In this particular hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ is reported to have mentioned. And he asks this question, like we're seated here today. Rasulullah ﷺ be sitting around the Sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah ﷺ, and he poses them a question. Who's going to take these words from me? Who's going to take these words from me? Very big psychological benefit. Right? Getting into a dialogue with Sahaba. And creating shawq and enthusiasm. Who's going to take these words and put them into practice? And if he's not going to make them, put them into amal, put them into practice, who's going to teach it to somebody else who will put it into practice? Right? Both. So here, Abu Hurairah, he was the one who had a lot of shawq and enthusiasm for hadith. He was a lover of the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ, and he is the biggest rawi and narrator of hadith. So he says, Ana ya Rasulullah, I will take these words from you. I will take them. I'll take them. As a big amana. فقال أبو هريرة قلت أنا يا رسول الله. He said, I will do it يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. فأخذ بيدي. Now Rasul, he said, he took me by the hand. He takes Abu Hurairah by the hand now. Again, see how Rasulullah was as a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So soft, so compassionate, and teaching the deen in the beautiful way. And this isn't even his son, it's not his brother, it's another believer, it's another mu'min. So as parents, how should we teach the deen of Islam to our children? Not with a stick, not with a frowning face. Right? With love, affection, compassion, harmony. You know, and you do these kind of things, and the children, even if they're playing around now, but when they see that, subhanAllah, my dad is such a beautiful person, after all they'll feel shy. Right? We don't have to get angry, we don't have to get mad and upset. We have a good relationship with our children, but we always call them towards deen. Don't give up, never give up. That's what they're wanting. Even the little kids, day after day, day after day, oh my little son, you want to pray next to me? This is what I do with my daughter, she's 3 years old. And I play with her, you know? And salah is not fard, right? She doesn't wear the hijab and any of those things. I'm like, Khadija, it's time to pray. Let's pray. No, Baba, I'm not praying. Okay. And then you just start. And as soon as you start, she comes right next and starts standing. And she starts playing around, and very cute. It's very hard to concentrate in salah, but it's tarbiyah, it's training for them. Then they kind of come. And I have older daughters, so the same way. For them, it's like, hey, you can't pray without a hijab. So the 5-year-old, then she'll go and she'll start finding something to cover her head. You know? And this way of tarbiyah, in a loving, nurturing, affectionate way, the children will begin to love the deen. If you're going to yell and scream and do all of those things, they're not going to like the deen of Islam, because they're going to see, what did Islam produce in you? They'll never say it. They're like, I look at my father, he's always angry, he's always upset, he's always mean. So the deen of Islam didn't change him, it didn't affect him. I don't want to be like him. See, I don't want to be like him. And children at a young age, they know that. If they see, subhanAllah, Baba is always smiling, MashaAllah, he's got nur on his face. He finishes salah and he has peace around him. Right? Laughing, good. Rasulullah ﷺ, you wouldn't find him frowning despite all the stress that he had. Always with a smiling face, smiling face. That's one of the things that Rasulullah was known to have. Right? The face is always smiling for you. We need to instill that in our lives. When non-Muslims see us, they need to see us in that same aura, in that same way. Then that attracts people to Islam. Anyway, the hadith continues, and he says that Rasulullah took me by the hand, فَعَدَّ خَمْسًا, and he enumerated 5 things. He enumerated 5 things for me. Abu Hurairah, there's 5 things I want you to remember. And he narrates the hadith, and we're going to discuss all of these 5 things. And this is treasure. Value them. This is treasure. This is worth its weight in gold. More than its weight in gold. Gold will come to an end. This is the sabab for our Jannah, which will never end. He starts and he says, اتق المحارم تكون أعبد الناس. اتق المحارم تكون أعبد الناس. That, oh Abu Hurairah, ittaqi, taqwa, stay away, refrain from, fear Allah, al-maharim, those things which are haram. Very easy. Everything and anything that Allah has made haram, you stay away from it. If you do so, the jawab comes. If you do so, تَكُنْ أَعْبَدَ النَّاسِ, O Abu Hurairah, you'll become the most worshipful servant of Allah. We don't need to be praying an extra 20 rak'ah nafil every single day, 10 juz every night, fasting every other day to become the biggest abid. You know, we don't need tasbih all the time, reciting Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, all of these things. These things are good, these things are fine, we should do those things. But how does a person become the most worshipful? Just by staying away from the haram. Right? This is like, if a person can create within himself this level of consciousness of Allah. Every step of my life, I'm careful where I put my step. If I step here, this is haram. If I step there, this is haram. So every step of your life is going to be worship of Allah, even at work. Even when we do our 9 to 5, we're clocking in and we're clocking out. Where am I working? Am I working at a haram place, selling liquor and alcohol? Am I working at a haram place, doing things that Allah will not like of me? Dealing in riba and interest? What do I do? Where did I choose my work? Majority of my life is around my work. And here in the United States, our work is our life. First thing that we have to check, where am I working? Right? Then too, the hadith of Rasul mentions, طَلَبُ الْكَسْبِ الْحَلَالِ فَرِيدَةٌ بَعْدَ الْفَرَائِضِ. Seeking halal sustenance, halal place to work, is a faridah. It's a compulsion. It's mandatory after the other compulsions. Which means what? If we do find halal sustenance in a halal job, another hadith mentions that that person will be like a mujahid fi sabilillah. We're going to work, we're earning an income, but we want to make sure it's halal. Allah will give you the reward of that thing as if you're in ibadah. 9 to 5, I'm clocking in, I get a paycheck and everything. The only thing is I change my niyyah. That, Ya Allah, I am the breadwinner of the family. I need to provide rizq for my family. And I need to make sure halal food goes down my throat and my children's throat, my wife's throat, everybody's throat. When we do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala write that down as ibadah and worship. Takun a'bad al-nas. You are the biggest worshipper because you stayed away from haram. Right? When we come home, what are we going to do now? If we spend our time with our wives, with our family in a halal manner, this becomes ibadah, this becomes worship. Even the food that we provide them with becomes sadaqah. No haram entertainment, no bad things on the computer, no bad channels on the TV, no halal. We'll have fun, we'll have halal fun. So the entire lifespan, if we spend staying away from the haram, that means in every single step of our life, every single venture or turn within our spiritual journey will become ibadah and will become the biggest worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just the one who stays in the masjid 24/7. Masjid comes with us. One person is a person who stays in i'tikaf, he's staying in the masjid, he has a tasbih, he's not going to work, he never got married, he never has children. That's one way to become an abid. But that's not the sunnah. That's not the sunnah tariqah of becoming an abid. Rasulullah got married, Rasulullah had children, Rasulullah taught people that you should go get a living. Rasulullah, he showed us by practical example that we come to the masjid for our salah, but then we take the masjid back with us to work. We come to the masjid for salah, then we take the masjid back with us at home. And this way we become a'bad al-nas. This is the lifestyle that Deen of Islam has prescribed for us. We're human beings, we're normal. La rahbaniyata fi Islam. There's no being a monk. You know, like the Christians have the monk, they go into the cave, they go to the mountains and they only worship. And none of that in the Deen of Islam. Why? Because it's not real. It's not real life. That's almost like cheating the system. For us, we live life like a mujahid. Whatever difficulty comes, I'm going to face this challenge, I'm going to face it in the obedience of Allah. I need to earn halal, I'll earn halal. If I have to quit my job, I'm going to quit my job. Ya Allah, I'm going to do this because I want to find halal. And you'll see Allah will help. That takes guts. That's a man. It's not going to be a man to run away from the test. When the test comes, we stand up face to face, MashaAllah, I'm going to do what Allah said. End of story. That is subhanallah. That is iman. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the ajr and reward of that. So that's number one. Next thing he says to Abu Hurairah anhu, وَارْضَى بِمَا قَسَمَ اللَّهُ لَكَ تَكُنْ أَغْنَى النَّاسِ. وَارْضَى. We say رضي الله عنهم, right? What is a rida? The pleasure. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. رضي الله عنهم, may Allah be pleased with them. So here Rasul is saying, you be pleased. وَارْضَى بِمَا قَسَمَ اللَّهُ لَكَ. You be pleased and happy with whatever Allah distributed for you. تَكُنْ أَغْنَى النَّاسِ. This is big. This is too big for me to be able to do justice and to explain. Rasul is saying, you just be happy and content with whatever Allah has given you. Right? We don't have big eyes for the dunya. If I work my 9 to 5, if I make my $2,000 a month, and it's putting food on the table, it's putting a roof on my head, my children are happy and healthy, be happy with whatever Allah has blessed you with. Right? If you do so, what's going to happen? Not you'll become rich, you'll become the richest of the people. You'll become the richest of the people. What is richness? That's what we need to define. What is being rich? Another hadith narration says, al-ghina ghina nafs. Real richness. You want to know what's richness? Richness is richness of heart. That I'm rich in my heart. And I'll give you by way of example. You take a guy who has millions. He has $99 million. You know what he's going to want? 1 more million. I need to make it to 100. I need to make it to 100. I have to make it to 100. If he has 100 million, you know what he's going to want? 200 million. Because other hadith mentions, لَوْ كَانَ لِي ibn Adam وَادِيَانِ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. If Ibn Adam, the son of Adam, if he had 2 valleys of gold, super rich, Bill Gates rich, he has 2 valleys of gold, then he would just want a 3rd valley. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end. Greed, greed, greed. Why does greed happen? What is greed? Greed is a disease. It's a disease of the heart. Why do you get that disease? How do you get that disease? When we have a misunderstanding, this money, this richness, we see it as the answer for all of our prayers. We see it as the solution to all of our problems. We give it a rank above what it belongs. Allah forgive us, Allah forgive us. We treat money like it's as if it's Allah. If I'm sick, money will cure me. If I'm hungry, money will feed me. If I'm without a house, money will house me. You see how we deem money now? Money is the fixer of all problems. But it's the root of all evils if we have this understanding. So the person is never happy however much he has. That person is not ghani. That person is not ghani. That person is faqir. Faqir. Why is he faqir? How is he faqir? Because it's not enough. Ghani means to be sufficient. Al-ghani, I am sufficient. I have enough. Ghina, I'm happy. I have enough. This is ghina. The person is like, it's not enough. I have 99 million. I need 100 million. I need 200 million. I need 1 billion. This is faqr. It's never enough. It's a sickness. Give me more. Give me more. Give me more. There's some animals, they have the sickness inside of them. It's a mess up in the wiring where